President Trump greets Representative Greg Gianforte, Vermont, at a campaign rally in Missoula, Vermont. On Thursday. AP photo Carolyn Caster, by Brian Claus. Brian Claus, Democracy Post contributor. Email bio. Follow Democracy Post contributor. October 19 at 2:01 p.m. President Trump is the ultimate president of limbo. Just when you thought he couldn't go any lower, he manages to bend over backward and slither under a new, rock-bottom bar. In the same week that Trump provided political cover for a barbaric regime that apparently beheaded my colleague, Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, the president has now explicitly endorsed violence against American journalists too. At his campaign rally in Montana on Thursday night, the man leading the FBI and the Department of Justice explicitly praised a criminal for committing a crime. And this was no crime of civil disobedience. No, Trump explicitly praised Representative Greg Gianforte, Vermont, because he violently assaulted a reporter. That's right, the man who borrows rhetoric from Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong to call the free press the enemy of the people or a stain on America, thinks it's a praiseworthy symbol of strength to beat up reporters too. On May 23, 2017, Gianforte was running for Congress in a Montana special election. Ben Jacobs, an American working for The Guardian newspaper, asked Gianforte about his stance on health care. Gianforte inexplicably grew enraged and violently body-slammed Jacobs, knocking him to the ground with enough force to break Jacobs' glasses. In the wake of the assault, Gianforte lied about the incident and denied any wrongdoing until Jacobs provided law enforcement with the audio recording, which corroborated his account perfectly. Fox News reporter Alicia Acuna, who witnessed the incident, reported that Gianforte grabbed Jacobs by the neck with both hands and slammed him into the ground before punching him. It goes without saying that such behavior should have disqualified Gianforte from serving in Congress. And yet, Trump doubled down on his support for Gianforte. The day after the attack, the people of Montana elected Gianforte to the House of Representatives. A few weeks later, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 40 hours of community service, 20 hours of anger management, a 180-day deferred sentence, and $385 in court fees and fines. Any decent political party would have distanced themselves from a convicted violent criminal. Republicans embraced him with open arms and tried to sweep the mugshot and the incident under the rug. Last night, Trump lifted the rug up again and said of Gianforte that any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind of guy. Then Trump made the motion of flipping someone to the ground as the crowd roared its approval. Trump smiled as the crowd laughed with him and concluded by saying that Gianforte attacking a journalist was nothing to be embarrassed about. Trump's revolting remarks about violence against journalists come as Turkish authorities are searching for the remains of one of my colleagues, who they suspect was dismembered by a regime that Trump profits from directly. They come a few months after several American reporters were gunned down in cold blood at the Capitol Gazette in Maryland. They come after a deranged man called and threatened Trump's favorite target, CNN, 22 times in January. That man borrowed Trump's catchphrase and told them, "I am going to kill you." Fake news. "I am coming to gun you all down." Thankfully, any plot in the works was foiled by law enforcement before anyone was murdered. They come after a newspaper in Lexington, Kentucky was shot at after a reporter in West Virginia was arrested for trying to ask a question. After the Committee to Protect Journalists recorded 90 journalists being murdered worldwide since 2017, and after death threats became a routine part of being a journalist or columnist, I've received several death threats myself. Female journalists often must contend with threats of rape as well as death threats. Mr. President, a free press that holds power to account is not an enemy of the people, but an ally of truth and freedom. Democracy withers and dies without a free press. And when a society embraces attacks on journalists, laughing and cheering them on, despotism can start to grow like a weed. In the wake of Jamal Khashoggi's apparent murder, the Saudi Gazette published an opinion column that referred to journalists such as Jamal as opponents of the regime who are parasites with a very short life cycle. That's unforgivably disgusting rhetoric. But is it so different from Trump calling American journalists a stain on America, or an enemy of the people, or praising the fact that Ben Jacobs was violently attacked? Trump continues to debase himself, the presidency, and our country's values. In November, we must decide whether we accept endorsements of violence and literal attacks on our democracy. If we send Trump yet another Congress that will be cheerleaders for him, rather than constrain his violent, authoritarian-style impulses, then we will be complicit in the further moral debasement of the American democratic experiment.